It was because he wanted to begin to cue my mind up as it related to security and safety. But why is safety a mindset? When we look at this lovely gentleman here, he might be listening to some blues, he might be listening to some Aretha Franklin, he might be listening to some Jay-Z, right? But what is wrong with this picture? He has headphones on walking in the middle of the street. And you can tell that he is really into this music, right? But does that show that he has a true security and safety mindset? When we see individuals walking down the street and they're totally ingrained in what it is that they're listening to, or they're walking like this. We've all seen this, right? People almost walk into you because their face is in the phone. They have way too much screen time. So when it comes to security and safety, it is truly a mindset. It is a setting that you have to change in your mind, that when you make certain decisions, that you put your security hat on as you make those decisions. My family and I desired to go to a play in downtown Manhattan. And we arrived downtown and I start to make my plans, right? Okay, we're going to go downtown. We're going to be there for this amount of time. We're going to enjoy the show. But what is the security and safety aspect of it? You know, do we have our PPE? You know, so that when we go into this venue, we make sure that if we're going to be around a large crowd, that we are protected, right? Where are the restrooms? And how do I access those restrooms? Do they have certain amenities that I need? If my wife or my child is wheelchair bound, right? Do they have a ramp that I can roll my son or my daughter up to, or my grandmother or my grandfather if they're coming along with us? So it's about thinking in of all of the aspects that will ensure that I have a safe and peaceful engagement and trip. And a lot of people's mindset on security is the exact opposite. Because a lot of people think of security as a stifling thing. They think of safety as something that restricts them from being able to think freely and to really be themselves, when it's the exact opposite. Security and safety allow you to fully immerse yourself into the environment that you're in, because you know your checks and balances are in place. So security and safety should never be an afterthought. It should be right there on the forefront of your mind, because it's not only your life and the loved ones of the people around you, but when you get to think about the beauty of who you are, right? The beauty, like I'm looking at my reverend right now, Mullings, right? She is a beautiful sister, and I'm sure she pastors to a great congregation. She is important to the world. So when we talk about security and safety, we have to secure ourselves so that we can continue the beautiful work that we do. But if we're not thinking about security and safety for ourselves, how can we show the value in other people or extract that value from other people? I hope that makes sense.
Yes, Tyreek, the
Yes,
volume
ma'am.
is going up and down. It's decreasing and increasing the volume, your volume. I don't know if it's just me. Your
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So let me go to my main system. Me now.
yes.
All right. So yeah, let's go. Let me go directly to the laptop. It looks like my headphones
Yeah,
have failed a little bit tonight.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh no, thank you. Because volume is important. That's security and safety as well, right? So
Yes.
how do we define safety? Safety is the condition of being safe for undergoing or causing harm, injury, or loss. So when we define safety, what we're looking to do is to be within that condition of being safe so that we can guard ourselves against harm, injury, and loss. When it comes to any situation that we are in, we want to make sure we come out of that situation as unharmed as possible, as with the least amount of loss as possible. So it is very, very important that we keep these things in considerations in our mind. When we look at the definition of security, security is the quality or state of being secure, freedom from danger, freedom from fear or anxiety, freedom from the prospect of being laid off as it relates to job security. So when we look at B is very critical, right? The freedom from fear or anxiety. So when we look at security, it's not a stifling thing. Security is what allows you to actually be free. So when we think along those terms, we are allowed to really just kind of expose ourselves to more things because we have the trust that we are very, very secure. All right, let us continue. So I don't know if many of us are football fans. I know my grandmother, my grandfather are, and my mom and dad are huge football fans. So when we look at the structure of a football team, you have what is called a free safety. A free safety tends to watch the play unfold and follow the ball as it moves. And they are called a defensive back. The free safety is typically assigned to specifically look at the quarterback in main coverage. Why are we talking about free safeties, Tyreek? Because the free safety has to have visibility of the entire field. When you look at the deep safety, they can see it all. And so when we look at the particular aspects or skill sets of a free safety in football, what do they have? They typically have a very high IQ as it relates to the game, and they typically have what they call speed. They are fast runners. So when it comes to security and safety, we want to be moving at a certain rate of speed. We want to think in advance of a person who may want to do us harm so that we don't walk around with this paranoia and we continue to see our wide scope and we can think along those terms. All right. I hope that makes sense. Let us continue. So before we transition into the next portion, we're going to go over some of the just general aspects and principles of security and safety. First one is to be aware and suspicious. Look for the unusual, loiterers, weird things in the parking lot, or unauthorized vehicles in certain areas, or someone following your car. So when I was younger, I had a gentleman who was in one of my training programs, and it was the dead summer, right? And we were meeting him on a train, or we were getting on a train, and we saw a gentleman who had a full-length trench coat on in the middle of July. And so that piqued our attention because it's like, okay, why are you wearing that type of a coat in this type of weather? And so that in our security mind, we switched train cars. We actually got off the train. We were quite young, so we didn't, alert any authorities because we didn't know what the particular, this person may have, had a particular reason. But the reality was we were not going to stay on that train car to find out. We wanted to make sure that we got off because it piqued our attention. And a lot of times we don't follow that spirit that tells us that something is out of the ordinary. When we study the Charleston situation with Dylan, when they looked at the survivors that were left, that, our brothers and sisters who survived that situation, many of them said that they knew that something was off. They knew that there was a weird feeling that something just was not right, but they didn't follow that feeling. So the purpose of what we're talking about today, that we don't take ourselves outside of the scope of who we are and what we do. It doesn't take us out of the scope, I should say, by following that spirit that tells us that something's wrong. Now, the question is, how do you address it, right? Mitigation. How do you actually address someone when sometimes we do physical checks at venues that we manage? When I check someone, they don't even know that they're being checked. But I've warmed them up with my personality. I've talked to them the whole time, and they just filled up in my spirit. And by that time, they've already been checked. They don't even know. And sometimes we can do that just by looking at someone. And so we want to be aware and be suspicious so that we can just make sure that our IQ is up as it relates to looking for things that may be out of the ordinary. We want to look for vehicles that may be circling more than one time. And if we do, we want to jot down a license plate number, right? So it's just about us picking up the cues of our surroundings. Avoid routine. Avoid routine. Change your route and times of travel to and from work. And so when we look at a security apparatus, right? When we look at point A to point B, when James begins to present, he'll give you more of his background, but he does executive protection, right? So two places that an enemy right? Given those terms, or a person who is coming against you, that which is good for you and your family, they know two things typically. They know where you are and they know where you're going, right? If they studied you, they know where you are, they know where you're going. So in different security apparatuses, they have multiple routes that they practice when it comes to running the routes of getting your principal from point A to point B. The purpose of going different routes is if you need to change direction for any purpose, that you know that next route. So changing your routine is very, very important. So people don't have the ability to clock you and clock your movements, and you can just, and they just don't know exactly where to find you, right? You always want to know different routes to get home in case you're ever taken or taken and you don't know where you are. You know how to look for different cues. You know how to see certain things. So changing your route and times of travel is very, very important, so that if you're ever in a different capacity, or even training your children or your grandchildren, that they know different ways to get home, not just one way. Because if they're ever in a predicament where they're not traveling their normal route, we still want them to be able to get home safely. So we remember, people clock you off of your routines. They know that you go to Starbucks every day at 7:30 on the dot. So if they're looking to make an advancement on you, they know exactly when to do it. But if you're changing your movements periodically, it makes you less of a target. And that's the purpose of today's training, is to give you your strength back and to give you more tips on security and safety. All right, maintain security procedures. Be methodical in setting up your own security procedures. Follow up and update with discipline. What does this mean? What is a security procedure, right? I come in the house. I make sure that my doors are locked. I make sure that my windows are locked. I make sure that my back door is locked. I make sure that if I have what they call a ring or security system, that I make sure I can see what is on the outside and what's on around my property, right? So it's about creating certain checks and balances for yourself. Don't we do that when we get in the car, right? Don't we get in the car? I hope we're all still wearing our seatbelts. Don't we get in the car and we put on our seatbelt? Don't we get in the car and we check our mirrors? Don't we get in the car and we make sure we got what? Gas in the car, right? You get in the car, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes my wife leaves me on E without the security text message to tell me that I need to go get gas. So sometimes my security is off and I just start driving, and I discover halfway down the street that I don't have enough gas to get to work. So now I got to make sure that I put those different checks and balances in place. But we want to make sure that we set up procedures to make sure that our windows are locked before we go to sleep, that all of our doors are locked, that we have even certain securities on our cell phone or on our bank accounts or on our emails, right? Changing our security passwords periodically, right? These things are very, 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 very key and very, very important. So creating these small security procedures for yourself, we want to keep these on the forefront, all right? Communications. Communication is key. So in any relationship, right, they typically say that those are the things that cause the breakdown in most relationships is clear communication. But why don't we take that within ourselves and within our own security? Are we communicating with ourselves properly? So we have to maintain good communication, but not just with self. We want to maintain communication with those who we are traveling and moving around with. When you are a particular person, when I was studying Malcolm X years ago when I was younger, they said Malcolm X was meticulous with his time, very meticulous as it relates to his time. So when a person is meticulous with their time and they are not what they are supposed to be, and they didn't communicate, you can immediately know that something is wrong. And when you know a person like that and you can move like that, it allows you to address any distress that they may be in immediately. But if you're a person who lacks good communication skills and you just kind of move about, like my younger brother, when we was younger, he would just wander and just kind of walk off, and we always had to find him. So his communication was lacking. But when your communication is top notch, if it decreases by even a millisecond, someone knows something's off. If I don't talk to James if I normally talk to him every Wednesday and he misses calling me on a Wednesday, it's gonna say, wait, something's wrong. James never misses to call me on a Wednesday. So now I can call around and if need, go on a search to make sure that he is okay. So maintaining good communication is extremely key. Always having access to a phone, a cell phone, an emergency line, a landline. So any event that your cell phone battery goes dead is key. Having backup battery chargers, right? This kind of looks like one. It's actually a hard drive, but they have battery chargers for your cell phone that can be used remotely as you're moving. So security means thinking in advance, but communication is key. When you look at any military operation, right, the first hub that they want to eliminate against the enemy is communication. They want to take out that communication bunker, because that communication allows access to the other resources that they have. When you look at any police officer, the most deadly thing on their waistband is not their gun. That only has an X amount of shots. The most deadly and the most crucial thing is, I should say the most crucial, not deadly, but the most crucial thing is their radio, because their radio gives them access to 200 other officers who can come to their aid. So that should tell you how important communication is. All right, we got one more tip before I get to the next presenter. Use initiative and common sense. Growing up, my mother would say common sense isn't common to everyone. So sometimes what's common to me may not be common to you, but we have to make sure that we cue our minds up to, when we see something out of the ordinary, follow your gut, follow your feeling. And if you are uncomfortable, it is a signal or communication from a power greater than you that you may need to move yourself out of that situation. And even if you don't have all the aspects in alignment, sometimes clarity will come later, but you want to follow your intuition. You want to follow that spirit inside that's telling you to move to another location or to do something to make yourself feel more comfortable, especially in an emergency situation. All right. So I have the distinct honor and pleasure in presenting my partner, James, who is very, very well versed in security, safety, and training. He's done it all over this planet. And I'm always very excited to hear from him. So please welcome my partner, James, to the microphone or the speaker or the Zoom. You can take it from here, James.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Brother Tariq. Good evening, everyone. My name is James Clagan, part owner with RSAT. Like Brother Tariq said, my background is in security, law enforcement, military, police, NCIS, State Department. So I've traveled all over the world with a lot of high-ranking military officials, dignitaries, and VIPs. And I've been doing it for about 20 years now. And some of the things that I want to share with you is with some of the things that we've done for VIPs when you're traveling domestically and internationally. I'm real big on human trafficking. So I want to make sure that you ladies are listening well, because I want to be able to give you some great tips. And these tips is not the end all be all, but to get your safety and security creative juices going. So when you are traveling, what I give you and what you can add to your own tool bag, if you will, when you're traveling. So I'll start off like this. Human trafficking is a $150 billion industry. And one of the issues that I have when I talk to women, a lot of women just think they only snatching, young, pretty little girls. And that's just not the case. They grab older women, they grab if heavy set women, they don't care, because it's a lot of sick fetishes out there of men. And so I want you to be aware of that. They don't wait till nighttime. They do it in the daylight. At your local Walmarts, your malls, they don't care about waiting to nighttime to snatch you. And the reason being is they have multiple vehicles and multiple people working in these operations now. So they don't mind snatching you at the local Walmart, Target, or your local grocery store. And, and if they grab you, the reporter go out, hey, so-and-so got grabbed and was put in a white van. And what they'll do is they'll drive, 2-3 blocks and put you in a black van. And now they're able to go to a marina, an airport, and the next thing you know, 8 to 10 hours, you're in a whole nother country or another part of the world, and you're in a bad situation. So what I do is teach safety travel tips to make yourself a harder target, because they go for the easiest possible target. They don't try to go after anyone that's going to put up any type of fight. So with some of these tips that I'm going to give you, allow you to give yourself a harder target, to make yourself a harder target. The first tip I would talk about is your car services. And what I mean by car service, I mean taxi cabs, Ubers, Lyfts, anyone that's picking you up that you're not familiar with or you don't know. Always check the child locks. The car services is a major avenue with human traffickers. And now that the world is starting to open back up and everyone is excited to travel, these human traffickers are waiting. Okay, they're waiting. So when you get into these, before you even get into these Uber vehicles or Lyfts or any car service, you always want to check the child lock. If you're in, and the reason you want to check your child lock, because once you're in there, you can't get out unless someone open it for you on the outside. And if they lock the windows on you, you can't do anything. One of the things that I keep with me on my keychain, you don't have to do it, but one of the things that I keep is a window break. It's just a little something that goes on your keychain that can crack a window, a car window if need be. But if you're by yourself and you're in the vehicle, I teach women or any individual to always sit behind the driver. When you sit behind the driver, it gives you a more of an offensive chance to get out of the situation or put more difficult on the person that's driving, that's trying to do you harm. And what I mean by that is when you're sitting behind the driver, they can't pull a gun on you. They can't pull a knife on you. They can't do anything to you because you're directly behind them. So you just imagine if you're driving your vehicle and you have someone sitting behind you that you're not familiar with, that same unease or uncomfort that you have also would be on that driver as well. So one of the things that I teach is when you're in that situation, you can always grab the driver by their neck, in a choke position, and scream in their ear, stop the vehicle, stop the vehicle, stop the vehicle. If you have, ladies, if you have nails, you have keys or whatever, that's the way you can grab into their necks or whatever. That gives you DNA. So you have DNA of the person because they're going to stop the vehicle because they're not expecting any of this. So like I said, they want to get the most easiest person, okay? Now, when you're in the vehicle and you don't know where you're going, you're going to a hotel or whatever your destination is, but you're not familiar with the route. And usually the driver doesn't know neither. So if the driver is using Google Maps, you should follow along with your Google Maps. If they're using Waze, you follow along with your Waze. And that gives you an idea that they're, if they deviate from the route, you will know. And I'll turn it up loud. Some people turn it down. They don't want the driver to know. It's to your choice. I usually keep it up loud because I want the driver to know that I'm paying attention to what they're doing. If they deviate from their route, you can ask the question. If you're not comfortable, you can have them stop the vehicle. Okay. Next thing I would talk to you about is when you get to, let's say, a hotel. These human traffickers are in the lobbies a lot, and they're just watching women, groups of women, single moms traveling with children that's not paying attention. And they'll sit and they'll watch. And so one of the things that I teach is when you get to the hotel and you go to the front window, to the front desk, you can always, you tell them, the first thing I say is when I introduce myself and say I'm here to check into my room, and I tell them before you give me my room, do not say my room number out loud. And they will oblige to that. And the reason being, because you don't know who's in the lobby, who's around you, who's listening. Okay, so they'll give you your key. And once they give you the key, then you know, okay, they'll say, okay, James, my room is 428. So I know I'm on the 4th floor. So when I get to the elevator, there's 2 ways you can do this. If you luck up and you get onto the elevator by yourself, go ahead and push multiple floors on the elevator. That way, if someone always think someone is watching you and following you, and that way that always keep your creative juices going. And you just type, punch in multiple floors, and you can just get off on your floor. So if someone is watching, they don't know what floor you got off on. If there's people on the elevator with you, then you do the same thing. If you're on the 4th floor, you get off at the 5th or 6th floor. If you're able to walk down 1 flight of stairs, then do it. If not, you get back on the elevator and go down to the floor that you're on. Once you get to your room, is multiple ways that people that want to record you, or either by video or by audio. And some of the main things that they put cameras and put audio in is in the smoke detectors and in the outlets or the receptacles in the rooms. So these are places that I check with a little flashlight. If you don't have a flashlight, you can use the flashlight on your phone, and you can put it towards the smoke detector, and you can put it towards the outlets, and you'll see if anything is there. So that's how you would check on that. When you're in the room, there's so many different ways that you can secure the hotel room, especially if you're ladies and you're traveling by yourself, or even if it's a group of ladies. The key is you don't want anybody coming in disturbing your peace. So what I teach women to do is carry, you've probably seen them, I'm sure everyone has seen them, just something as simple as a doorstop. Just by keeping a doorstop in your luggage, and when you check into your room and you put your locks on the hotel door, just go ahead and put your little doorstop in on the inside of your room. So that way, if someone does breach because all of the hotel rooms now, they have these little cards. So those are nothing but just magnetic frequencies that can be manipulated very easily. And you can see some of this stuff on YouTube. But by having that doorstop in the door, that allows you to if you're in a dead asleep, they're not going to be able to just come on in. That gives you an opportunity to get yourself together, make a phone call, bang on the walls, scream, blow a whistle, make noise, wake up the other hotel, your neighbors in the hotel, so they see what's going on, and then these people are going to run off. If you're traveling internationally and you're staying at hotels, one of the things that I do, and this is what we do, and let me back up, while you're at your hotels here in the States, and this is something you can do internationally too, you don't have to leave the hotel room in your personal name if you don't want to. You can always take it out, put the name, you can use a different name if you want, and that put more security on yourself as well. I use this a lot, mainly for my VIPs when we're traveling internationally. If I have a famous person that we're protecting, we don't put the hotel room in that person's name. Internationally, whatever country that I may be going to, I'll use a local male's name, and I tell women to use a local female name. So so when I go to, say, an Arab country, I'm gonna use an Arab name. When I go to the Middle East, if I go to London or Europe, or I'll use a European name, and that's what keeps more security on you. Another thing that I teach people is whatever country that you may be going to, always when you start making your plans to travel, get in touch with the embassies of the countries that you're going to. And the best way to do that is going on the statedepartment.gov, statedepartment.gov or travel.gov. When you go on travel.gov, they have a space on the right, I think on the right side of the website, where you can type in the country that you're going to. And it's going to give you a threat assessment on that country. And it's also going to give you the embassy's phone number, all of the address to that embassy, all of their contact information. And the reason why you want that information when you're traveling to different countries, that's home base. So whatever your hotel is, you want to know in reference to where the embassy is to your hotel. You want to know where, just in case you might lose your passport or someone take your passport, you want to be able to know where the embassy is. So if you need to get another passport, they can expedite and get you another passport. Also on that website, travel.gov, they have the phone number for you to and emails, and they'll take your phone number. So when you're in these different countries that you may be going to, if they need to get out any information to Americans in this country, they'll send out a mass text, and anything that they deem that may be dangerous to Americans in that country, they'll send out a text, and they may tell you, hey, get back to your hotel and stay there, and until we tell you, it's clear. Or they may say, stay away from such and such area. There's a big demonstration going on, and so anything that they deem that could be a potential threat to Americans, they're going to send out this text and tell you where to stay away from or where the danger may be. That helps out a lot. Another thing with that I teach is what I call the dummy wallet. And what the dummy wallet is for those that's, you may be going out to dinner, you may be going to a club, any type of entertainment. What you want to do, what I do is I have what I call, the dummy wallet. And what that is I keep anywhere no more than $50 in that wallet of whatever country that I'm in, that country's currency. And I keep an old or expired debit card or credit card in that wallet. So if you're ever in a situation where someone wants to rob you, you can easily just give them that dummy wallet and they'll run off with that. The money that you will lose, that's just to bait them in, so they think that's the real wallet because they see some cash in it of their currency. And this happens, quite often to Americans. They think we have a lot of money, and they will target us, not just Americans, but a lot of Westerners, period. So by having that little fake dummy wallet, that you will be able to keep all of your belongings, your real credit cards, debit cards, and not have to go through that mess. So the only thing you'll probably lose out, you don't have to put you can put $20, $30, whatever. As long as it's something there that they can see that Right. They can do the quick grab and run off, with that. So
we do have a couple of questions, James, if you
Yes, sir.
A couple of questions. Excellent. Yeah, as you all can see, man, James is literally a wealth of knowledge and information. Sometimes I'll just stay on the phone and just kind of let them go and just take notes as I'm driving. But we got some questions that came through the chat, James, that I would love for you to address.
Yes,
first question is, why do they target older adults for human trafficking?
Good question. There's a lot of sick individuals out there, sick men, and they have fetishes for different. Some men like older women, some men like bigger women, some men like Black women or young women. It's so many different sick people out there that have different fetishes. And that's a major issue because a lot of women think, oh, well, I'm an older woman or I'm a heavy set woman and they're not going to mess with me. Oh, they grab you too. We have a lot of information and proof of that. So the same things I would tell the young lady, the young girl, the pretty girl, I would say the same exact information and take the same type of protocol for older women or heavy set women. And that's just because the men are sick out there. One other thing I'll say real quick to that is some of the feedback when that question comes up, a lot of women would say, well, men should be able to behave themselves. I can dress how I want to dress, and they should be able to behave themselves. And well, when you're talking to men like myself and Tariq, yeah, we're in our right frame of mind. We sane men, but you have a lot of men out there that's sick and not in their right frame of mind. So you can't expect a man that's sick in a right frame of mind to act like myself or act like Tariq. They sick. You know, I've watched these guys at the beaches or at track meets of little girls, and they sit. So my job is when I'm on the beach sometimes or I'm at the track meets, I will look for these guys because they sit there and they have their shades on and they're recording your children. And I'm talking 3, 5, 7, 10, 11 years old. And the next thing you know, your children is on these child porn sites. So that's a whole nother thing. I want to stick to the question, but I'll answer those questions if they come up as well. Next question.
Right. Excellent. Next question is, please describe what will tell us if there is a recording device in the smoke detector. Is it a flashing light?
Yes. So it's going to be it's two things that I do in the way you can check this. It's going to be a little red or amber light that'll be flashing. Some of them, these guys will get real high tech and they have it'll be like an infrared. So if it's the infrared, all you really have to do is if you ladies that have hairspray or anything like that, you can just spray it. Turn the lights off and just spray over, not too close to the smoke detector, because you don't have to be close, because the infrared light that comes out of that, and that'll let you know too as well. You can do the same thing with the outlet. You can just okay, yeah, you can just do a little spray and hairspray or any type of something, and it will let you. You'll see the infrared lining or the light, and that's how you can check, in the hotels.
Excellent, excellent. The next was just a comment. I am glad you clarified the demographics. Most people think of children and young women and young adults are the only targets of human trafficking. Very true. Next question is pimping a form of human trafficking?
That's a good question. It is if they're forced into doing it. A lot of women want to be a part of it. So it's not because they're doing it as their own will. But if they're forced into it or they're kidnapped into doing it, then yes, that is very much human trafficking.
Excellent. Next question is, do you remove great question, do you remove personal info from the dummy card or dummy wallet?
Yes, yes, you can do that. You can do that. Now I've had now my name has been on an expired card. It has been on it. So you can do it with an expired, as long as the card is expired, and because they can't really do nothing with the name. They can't really do nothing with the name. The main thing is you want at that particular point, the reason what the significance of the dummy card is to get them away from you so you can get back safely to where you got to get to. And if you're able to get a description of the person that did this to you, then you can take it to authorities. So that the expired debit card or credit card, yeah, it may have your name on it, or if you have something that with another name on it, that's fine too. But the key is in that instance is for you to get away from that person quickly. So giving them what they want and letting them run off, it doesn't matter if they have your name. They can't do anything with the card. It's not going to send them back to your home address or anything like that. So
excellent. So I mean that was a great great explanation, James, because at the end of the day, the value is in your life. the value in our lives. So
Right.
we just need that time to move and move ourselves to a better state.
Let me say this real quick. Another thing that I would, because we just had this issue a couple weeks ago. You know, a lot of us sometimes when we doing good, we like to, you know, flaunt and do valet parking and things like that. And what I tell people to be careful with valet parking, especially when you're driving your personal vehicle, because what's in the glove department? Registration, all that, and it has what? Your home address and have everything on there. So think about that when you want to use valet parking and you go on to different hotels or different places that offer that service. If you're going to use it, just make sure your stuff is locked up well, or it's hidden good in your glove department, because people go through them all the time to collect information off of, you know, and next thing you know, they'll be at your house.
Excellent. The next question that we have here, James.
You're freezing up.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Okay, yes, sir. There you go.
Yes, we can.
Okay. The question was, how do you handle valuable jewelry or money when you are traveling at the hotel?
Okay. So when if you have to have that on you, that's part of, you know, securing your hotel room by using the safes and things that they may have in there. If I'm going to have that type of stuff, I usually would have my little own personal little safe or something that I have that I can make sure that I have the, because I don't know what if the hotels can get into these safes or anything. So if you have anything of a value, like when I'm carrying with passports and I'm with clients and I'm usually the person that have everyone's passports, I have my own little safe that I have with me where I can lock all of this stuff up. So that's how I would do that with your, if you got to be having a lot of money or jewelry or you know, things like that. You can put it on, and then some people, what they do is put it on the hotel as well. You can go to hotel security and say, hey, I have this. Does the hotel have a security room where I can put high valuables? And then the hotel will take it, and now, you know, it'll be on the hotel if your stuff come up missing. So you can do that as well.
Excellent. That was the next question, was should we trust the hotel safe? Just for clarity, James, when it comes to the safe that you carry with you, does it do you leave it in the room
Yes.
when you leave? And does it have, like, is it special? Does it have some weight to it, or do you lock it?
No, it's a thing I wish I can go get, but it's just a little 5x7 box that I keep.
Okay.
And it goes through security. You can carry it in your carry-on bag as well. I think what I'm gonna do is, Tariq, is put a video together of some of these little techniques that I can get out to everyone so they can see what I'm talking about, and you can buy it right on Amazon.
Oh, that'd be excellent. That'd be excellent.
Sure.
All right. The next question, is it illegal to, I don't know if they finished.
Yeah, Miss Walker, your question?
Okay,
Uh-huh.
there we go. Is it illegal to have homemade pepper spray to travel with, especially a single woman? Great question.
No, it's not illegal, and I'll tell you why. As long as 6 ounces or less, you can carry it in your carry-on bag, you can carry it in your purse. They're not going to ask you what's in this container, where it is. They're not going to ask you. All they're looking for is it 6 ounces or less. So you can, if you have your own homemade antidote and it's under 6 ounces, you're free game.
That's right. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Those are all the questions currently in the chat, Dr. Brown. So
I want to say one thing
Yeah.
about the children real quick, because this is important to me. What I want to tell the ladies, if you have little girls or any men that's in the audience that have daughters, because I have three, be mindful when you go into the Walmarts, the Targets, any of these little stores that's selling two-piece bikinis to 3, 5, 7, 10, this little girls, and like I said in the beginning, this human trafficking industry is a $150 billion industry, and they all cat and jack, everybody's playing a part in this. And the way you can tell is there's no reason for a little girl to have hip hugger underwear or low hip underwear. There's no reason for them to be making clothes for, tight spandex and Daisy Dukes and all these type of things for little girls. It's a reason why they're doing this. And they're doing it right in front of your face, and they may just put a cartoon on it or put some little colors on it. And next thing you know, you out at the beach and your little girl is in a two-piece bikini, and you got some sick guy out there recording her or taking pictures. And that's how they wind up in a lot of these child pornography sites and magazines and videos. So just be mindful of that. Like I said, these men are sick. You're not dealing with, men in their right frame of mind. You're dealing with sick men that do this stuff. And it's women that's part of this as well. So just be mindful with your little girls when you're out and you're doing this. My little niece, she runs track when they run track. So when I'm out there, I'm looking, I'm always watching, because I know you're going to catch a sick individual out there that's looking at these little girls. So we should all be doing that and just be mindful of this when we go into the beach or we go into a public pool and how we dress our little girls. Thank you.
Well,
Excellent. All right. So, Dr. Brown, would you like to take it back over?
yes, but one more question. What about little boys? They are at risk also.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And they are in the child pornography sites as well. Usually a little boy, for most of what we have on our little shorts, and things like that. But, some parents put Speedos and these little, things on their little boys. It's unnecessary. Mm-hmm. It's unnecessary. And they put cartoons on it for little boys as well. And now when you do that, now you have an individual that's stuck on you or your child. And now you have unwanted people that's now potentially can start following you. When I worked with NCIS, we did this drill, and it blew my mind how much people just not paying attention on someone following them. So one of the drills that we did real quick was we would go to the airports, and our lead agent, he would just pick an individual, and he'd say, hey, go follow this person and get me their name, their address. We had to get their social security number just from following. And we're following these people. We had little signs that I can tell y'all now, but we had little signs. We had teams. So we would say, okay, we got the person. Okay, they're right in front of us. So when we did this, we knew that the person that we were targeting was right in front of us. We did left or right or whatever. But if we couldn't find a person, we lost the person, we would rub our head like, okay, where'd they go? So we had little signs like that. And I know if we had it in the government doing it, these people have these same type of signs. Mm-hmm. And we would follow these people, get on the elevator with them, get right at their apartment, right at their house, and they just didn't even have a clue that we were fine. That's this, and I was just like, wow. So that's when I really started getting into the human trafficking and letting, men and women know just how serious this is. So when we're traveling, now that the world is opening back up, we have to be careful, because everyone was sitting at home and now everybody's ready to travel and party, and these human traffickers lost money because nobody was traveling, nobody was doing anything. And now they know everyone is excited to start traveling. and they're not even thinking about their safety, not even thinking about their security. So what I'm here to give you is, like I said in the beginning, is tips, but also just by me talking, I'm sure you guys have gotten, oh yeah, I can do this, or I can do that, or yeah, I can do this one. You know, it gets your creative juices going. This is just me giving you a toolbox. We put some tools in it. And as you go along, you may hear someone else talk about it, or you may think of something that you can add to your toolbox for when you're traveling with yourself, your children, your family, so that you can be safe and make yourself a harder target.
Excellent. And the last word I got, Doc, is just, as James just rolled out, security is about prevention. Everything that he gave you as it relates to the dress code that has been put into the different fashions and different industries in the world, we are striving to give tools to help you prevent a catastrophic event that can happen to yourself or to your children that will change the trajectory of their lives going forward. We don't want to see any more of our, the individuals within our families to suffer. We want us to lead full and complete free lives where we don't have in our mind experiences that we've been put under, that we could have prevented by small measures and putting these small tips that James had just rolled out into place. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Dr. Brown, for this wonderful opportunity. And yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I mean, I'm speechless. Even though it's the second installment of your series on safety, I mean, it was phenomenal. I took at least a page of notes for myself that I know I can pass on to not just myself, but my family members and also people that are close to me. Because again, like I said, these were amazing things that I've never heard of, that I never even thought of as far as safety is concerned. And then two, what I was pleased about was that you guys also went into human trafficking, because again, one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of the missing children and women are usually people of color.
Yeah.
That nobody knows where they are, and you see them on the milk cartons or on these different news programs, but then they're unsolved mysteries. So again, I do believe what that prevention is key with anything, as you said, and trying to mitigate those problems. So thank you all for coming. Thank you so much for presenting this wonderful information, and we look forward to working with you guys, hopefully in the fall for our roundtable.